18th century France and England are ruled by fear, oppression, and torture. The upper class live in luxury, while common people suffer and starve. In England, a man named Jarvis Lorry receives a message to meet Mamsay, and then help rescue a man buried alive for 18 years. Mamsay is a kind and beautiful young woman named Lucy Manet. Her father, Dr. Manet, thought dead, has been released from a Paris prison after 18 years. He is being hidden by the revolutionaries Monsieur Defarge and his cruel wife, who knits endlessly at the Defarges' wine shop in a Paris suburb. But Dr. Manet seems to have lost his sanity after his long imprisonment. 5 years later, a good man named Charles Darnay is accused of treason and will die by torture if found guilty. 2 witnesses against him are Lucy Manet and her father, but Lucy is filled with sympathy for Darnay. Darnay physically resembles one of the lawyers, the crude and alcoholic Sidney Carton. This casts enough doubt on the accusers to acquit Darnay. Carton, who is a failure at life, feels increasingly bitter towards the good and successful Darnay, who is loved by a woman like Lucy. 4 months after the trial, Lucy is living with her father. Dr. Manet is recovering, though the reason for his imprisonment is still a mystery. At a Paris reception for the aristocracy, the Marquis Saint-Evremond feels insulted and leaves in a fit of anger. His carriage kills a child, but the Marquis only throws a coin to the child's father, Gaspard, and leaves in a rage. The Defarges witness this incident. The Marquis goes to his country estate and meets his nephew, Charles Darnay Evremond. They despise each other, and Darnay says he is renouncing all of his titles and leaving France. In the morning, the Marquis is found to have been murdered by Gaspard. A year later, 3 men wish to marry Lucy: Darnay, his lawyer Stryver, and Carton. But Lucy does not find Stryver acceptable, and she knows Carton will not change. Carton knows that she was his last chance to be recalled to life. Gaspard has been hanged for the murder of the Marquis. Madame Defarge places the names of the entire Evremond family on her knitted death list, including Charles Darnay Evremond, now engaged to Lucy Manet, and their children. After Lucy's wedding, when Dr. Manet learns that Darnay is actually an Evremond, Manet regresses into insanity. 10 days later, Dr. Manet seems to be recovered. Lucy and Darnay return, and Carton visits them, saying he wishes to apologize and be a friend to them. They both agree. 8 years later, Lucy and Darnay are living in England. Lucy's childhood governess, Miss Pross, is with them. They have 2 children who are fond of Carton. In France, the Defarges lead a bloody attack on the Bastille, and Monsieur Defarge searches for Dr. Manet's old cell. 3 years later, the French Revolution has removed the royalty from power. Darnay learns that his steward in France, Gabelle, has been arrested for acting on behalf of the Evremond family. Darnay quietly leaves for France, not realizing that though he renounced the family name and wealth, he will still be seen as a despised aristocrat. In Paris, Monsieur Defarge captures Darnay and takes him to La Force prison. Lucy and her father arrive in Paris. Dr. Manet, unafraid after his years spent in the Bastille, tries to persuade the mob surrounding La Force to let him rescue his daughter's husband. But Darnay remains in prison for another 15 months as the Reign of Terror begins. Darnay is acquitted through the actions of Dr. Manet, but Madame Defarge soon has Darnay re-arrested. His accusers this time are the Defarges and Dr. Manet. The doctor objects, but Monsieur Defarge states he retrieved a buried paper from Manet's old cell in the Bastille, and it contains the evidence. 18 years before, Dr. Manet tried to help a wounded peasant man who claimed that 2 noblemen attacked him, though he was able to get his younger sister to safety. The noblemen were named Evremond, and one had a son named Charles Darnay Evremond. Dr. Manet wrote a letter to the court reporting the violent incident, but he was captured by the twin noblemen before it was delivered. Dr. Manet buried the letter in his Bastille cell. Darnay is sentenced to death. He and Lucy say their farewells, but their daughter, young Lucy, begs Carton to help. He goes to the Defarge wine shop, where Madame Defarge sees his resemblance to Darnay. Carton learns that Madame Defarge is the young peasant woman who survived the attack by the Evrémonde brothers years before and swore vengeance on all of them, including their descendants. On the day of Darnay's execution, Carton visits him, drugs him into unconsciousness, and trades places with him. Darnay and the others safely escape France. Madame Defarge goes to Lucy's apartment to denounce her, but is shot and killed by Miss Pross, Lucy's former governess and protector. Before he dies on the guillotine, Carton is at peace and feels he has atoned for a wasted life by allowing Darnay to go free. His final thoughts are that it is a far, far better thing I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest I go to than I have ever known.